I'm going to show you how to sharpen a knife today. Now the first thing you should ask yourself is, should I trust this guy? And I'm going to show you how sharp my knives are. First of all, I want you to grab any kitchen knife. This is a knife I sharpen. It's a pocket knife, but still, grab the sharpest knife you think you have and just see if it can do that. I just want you to grab a sheet of paper and cut through it. See if you can do that. If you can, you don't need to sharpen your knife. If you don't, and you don't know how to get your knife that sharp, you should probably watch this video. What I'm going to show you is what I think is a foolproof way to sharpen your knife. It's pretty easy, straightforward. I use the same principles for every single knife I sharpen, and they all turn out like my black pocket knife right here. I hope this is just a quick video. It's easy to understand, and you learn the secret and can now have knives sharp like mine. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I use to sharpen stones. I have this Norton stone. I believe it's made, I got this from the India company. Not sure, on Amazon. It's like a 400, 600, or 400, 800 grit stone. All I need it for is a coarse, and the orange is the medium side. And I have some stones by Begue. This one is a 3000, 8000 grit stone. And I have a 1000, 4000 grit stone. Sharpening oil I only use on this stone. Those need to be soaked in water. I'm using Norton sharpening oil. It's very good. Recommend it. Recommend these types of rags. Blue rags are probably my favorite for this. I made whetstone holders because I was tired of whetstones sliding on surfaces when I was trying to sharpen. This is just a 2x4. I nailed and glued some wood pieces just so that they would fit these stones. As you can see, this barely fits this stone, and you can flip it. On the bottom of each of these, I just epoxied a mouse pad. This one's been used a ton, so you see it's taken some wear, but you can put as much pressure as you want on the stone and it won't go anywhere. It won't slide all across your table. Today, I'll sharpen this blade. And I have some other stuff. I mean, I use a leather belt in the stropping process, and I recommend one of these. It's a strop. It has a stropping compound on top. This is the company name, so I'll get into that, but that's all I'm using. Alright, the materials are pretty straightforward. First whetstone you need is one with a coarse and a medium side. This is a stone I got from the India company on Amazon. It's made by Norton. Here, let me get it so that you can see the product description. Anyway, coarse side, medium side. Doesn't matter what the grits are. This is probably 200, 400, or 200, 600 or something. Doesn't really matter. It works. You just need a coarse and a medium side. I have whetstone holders, just 2x4. I put glue and nails in the top pieces to build like a frame. And then the bottom is just an epoxied mouse pad. Works really well, stops the whetstone from sliding. First time I did this, I just used the whetstone on a surface. Did not work well at all. I made two more because I also have water stones. I recommend getting these. Made by Begue. 3000, 8000 grit stone. And your 1000, 4000 grit stone. Those need to be soaked in water. When this one came in, it said it needs oil. I used Norton sharpening oil. It's really good. I recommend getting a strop. This is the company that I got my strop from. It just needs a stropping compound. Green, red, doesn't really matter. Green's really good. I think red is a finer stropping compound. You can get all the colors of the stropping compound. It's not necessary. This is the knife I'm going to be sharpening today. And I use a leather belt. This is what I strop with first, and then I continue to the green compound because it's a softer compound. I also keep a cup of water with me because when you're working with water stones, you want to keep a lot of water on them. And another key component to getting sharp knives is having a good doggo watch over you. Ain't that right, Shadow? Alright, now we're at the stone. Put some sharpening oil on it. I already put a little bit. More doesn't hurt. Go ahead and rub it in. I'm going to start on the coarse side. Whatever is the smaller number. So if you got a 100 grit stone, if you found that somewhere, and you have a 100, 400, start with the 100. If you have 200, 800, start with the 200. You start at low numbers, and then you progress. 8,000, you don't have to go that high, but I recommend it. Really and truly, I can get a knife really sharp just by going to the 1,000 grit range. But you can do whatever you want to do. I recommend 8,000 because it puts a shinier edge on it, and I think it cuts a little better. But like I said, doesn't really matter. Bare minimum you need is 400, 800, you know, coarse, medium, and a 1,000 grit stone. But I have a little extra. And a leather belt. You've got to strap it. But I'll get into that. So we're going to start here. Main component, sharpening a knife, is keeping an angle. If you're going to master anything first, you've never sharpened before, keep a good angle. I cannot stress how important that is. 90% of my errors have come from keeping a bad angle or having a good angle but not keeping it through the entire sharpening process. Once you start an angle on a blade, you have to maintain it. What that means is if I start with like a 10-degree angle, I can just fit the tip of my finger underneath the blade and I push all the way down. I have to maintain that throughout the whole sharpening process. See how much shadow is exposed? You can do it by that, or how much finger you can fit underneath, or just get a feel for it. Eventually you sharpen enough blades, you'll know that this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, and this is right. Because this is the angle I sharpen all my knives at. You want to keep that sharpening angle throughout the entire process. For the purpose of this video, to guarantee a sharp knife, I do all mine at this angle. It's about a 10-degree angle. You can just fit the tip of your fingertip underneath. If you want to do it like this, it'll probably keep the edge longer, but it won't be as sharp. This is the sharpest. It doesn't keep the edge the longest, but it is certainly, it puts an impressive edge. Another key component once you master keeping your angle, which means wherever you want to place your hands, so that when you push the blade down, you keep it at that angle. For example, some people do like that. I do like that. Doesn't matter. Alright, after you master the angle, the most important thing after that is pressure. You want to put a ton of pressure down on the blade. Pressure is good. If you have access to a scale, put 2 hands on it, or however you want to hold your blade. Doesn't matter, as long as you keep your angle. And try and get 5 to 10 pounds of pressure, 10 being better. After you mastered that and you understand that pressure is good, at least for the start of this, next step is technique of sharpening. There's multiple ways. Some people like to do this, and they'll kind of sharpen the whole blade. They'll push really hard, about 5 to 10 pounds the way down, and then they'll lightly pull it all the way back. I don't always get a perfect edge when I do it that way. I prefer doing it like this. That way I'm taking special care to pay attention to each part of the blade. It doesn't really matter as long as you form a burr. So a burr is a little, kind of like a wall of metal that'll form on the opposite side of the blade from what you're pushing against the whetstone. Basically, if I push it this way, a burr will curl this way. You can feel it. If you take your hand and do like this, you will feel the burr. Like I said, it's like a little wall of metal. You just notice something irregular about the blade, and when you go to do like this, something's stopping your finger. Makes a little edge almost that goes straight up and down, but realistically it's curving in. Once you form a uniform burr and you can feel it all the way down, it'll kind of grip at your finger almost. You'll know you made a burr once you've pushed the blade along the whetstone enough. Once you made a uniform burr that feels the same throughout the entire side of the knife, that is, you're pushing with the knife in your right hand. That's how I always start. once you get that burr, you'll start on the left side and you'll push it all the way down. And then you'll form a burr on that side. So you can start feeling the burr. Again, it's like a little wall of metal, and you'll feel it right here. That's the first step to sharpening a blade. You want to establish that edge and make it. So go ahead, take your rough grit, coarse grit, and get a burr on both sides of the blade, and then we'll move into the medium grit. Alright, so I raised the burr on each side, and it took me about 2 minutes. The type of material that is used to make the blade will change how long it takes to form a burr. That also correlates to how long the blade will hold that edge. Some blade material types are sharper than others. This is stainless steel, so it'll hold the edge that I'm about to put on it when I'm done with this whole process a good while. And stainless steel kind of gets sharp fast. But just take note that different types of material will sharpen quicker than others, different types of material will get sharper than others, and different types of material will hold an edge longer. Now, after I'm done with the coarse grit, I go ahead and I just wipe off my stone. Little metal bits and pieces get stuck in the whetstone. It's good to clean every once in a while. Now you're on your medium grit side. Same process as before. On the coarse grit, what we're going to do, put some oil down, and you're going to want to form a burr all over again. Now, I started on the right side, I ended on the left. Right now, the burr is on this side of the blade. Meaning, if I pushed right here right now, I just create a bigger burr. We don't want to do this. We want the edge to be even in the middle somewhat. So, if I finished on this side, on the last stone, I'm going to start on this side on this stone. Same rules apply for the other one. You're going to put a bunch of pressure, about 5 to 10 pounds. You're going to form a burr on this side, going down, and then I'm going to form a burr on the other side. And then we're going to move into something that's a little different, the 1,000, 3,000, 4,000, and 8,000 grit stones. So go ahead and form your burrs. Alright, so now you've been through the coarse grit, you've been through the medium grit. You formed a burr on both sides with both grits. How sharp is the blade now? Probably not that good, because you just went through the medium grit. Can't really cut paper that well. So, what I'm going to move into is 1,000 grit stone. Now, this is one of my water stones. You generally want to keep a bunch of water on it. Also, pay in mind that if you use wood, the wood will warp if you put a bunch of water on it, and it may not fit perfectly, but that's okay. As long as you can get it in, you're good enough. And now, let's go ahead, put a little bit of water on it. Some people work on it underneath the sink water going on it. I just take a cup and put water on it as needed. Doesn't really matter. Now with this 1,000 grit stone, I wouldn't put as much pressure as the coarse and the medium grit. In fact, if you read the instruction manual on these, it says go very lightly. I would say go medium. Just from experience, it will create a bunch of gunk, but you can get it off with water. That's why I got water stones. You just put it under the faucet and rub it. I'd put about 2 to 3 pounds of pressure, maybe 4. Certainly not 10, because all kinds of junk's just going to come off of this stone. Some people do still put a bunch of pressure. Only difference with this stone now, since we're at the 1,000 grit, is you don't form a burr on both sides. Some people will form a burr all the way to the 8,000 grit, and that's fine. If you want to form a burr and do all that work, you can. You put a bunch of pressure, form a burr here, put a bunch of pressure, form a burr here. To finish the blade, you'll do alternating strokes. You'll do 5 this way, 5 that way, 4, 3, 2, well, you know, you get it. 3, 3, 2, 2. You just alternate the same number on both sides, and you just keep going back and forth, and that'll make the edge centered. One of the guys I watched on YouTube, a better way to do it is just to start alternating at the 1000 grit, meaning I'll do 5 swipes, I'll do 5, I'll do 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, and then I'll do 1, 1 about 5 times. Then I'll move to the 3000 grit, then I'll move to the 4000 grit, then I'll move to the 8000 grit, then I'll start stropping. This is how I've gotten all my knives sharp. You can do it either way. If you think forming a burr is better, form a burr. If you want to do the quicker way, which is just alternating strokes once you get to the 1000 grit, then alternate strokes. The great thing about this is that I'm not forcing you to do anything. You experiment and you feel, you decide what's better. I'm simply just providing you information with the method that works for me. And I just showed you at the beginning of the video. I cut that paper pretty easily. I'm sure you took a kitchen knife and you didn't do as well. Anyway, same thing. You want to keep the same angle, it's crucial, and do about 4 pounds of pressure until the 8000 grit, or you could do 1 pound of pressure, doesn't really matter. Although if you do 1 pound of pressure, you're probably going to want to do a lot more swipes. You still do want to take off material, you just don't want to take off as much. You don't need to. Alright, now I have fully sharpened the blade all the way to 8000 grit. You might be able to catch some of the blade if the camera decides to focus, which I doubt. But it is fairly shiny. If you want a mirror edge, you're going to want to get 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000, 7000, and 8000 grit stones. You're going to want all the grits. Since I jumped from 4000 to 8000, I did not get a mirror edge. At least this is what I have come to believe. But I'm not sure how much you can see in the video. This is a really shiny edge. Very shiny. Alright, can this cut a paper at 8000? Before I strop it, let's see the difference. The importance of stropping. That piece of paper, wind's blowing, but that's pretty sharp. But we're going to go ahead and make it sharper. Of course the wind's blowing and it wants to make this complicated, but I will find a way. Alright, what I would do is grab the back side of the belt and set it on a chair on the floor where you can put your feet on. I'm just putting my foot on the belt. Grab your blade. You don't want to cut into the belt because now your blade's really sharp. Instead, you're going to put the back of it to the blade. So, I'm just going to run the back of the blade against the leather belt. I'm going to strop it. This will remove tiny little pieces of metal that are causing your blade to not be perfect. They are very tiny. It is important to strop a couple times. I don't know, 10's probably good per side. At least for the leather belt. Actually, this one feels pretty smooth. I'm going to do the other side. I just did about 5 times the side. The reason it doesn't matter is because next, this is probably the most important, the sharpening compound. Now, you can get a bunch of different color sharpening compounds, like I said earlier, but green's fine. It's a good starting point for sharpening compounds. You can look up the different consistencies of sharpening compound and what they're for. Same thing, we're gonna push the back side of the blade against the sharpening compound. And there's no real set amount. If you read the guide that comes with these things, they say do it about 5 times each side of the blade. I just do it until it feels about smooth. And you'll know you do a good job when you see a bunch of green stuff along your edge. It'll come off on the blade. And if you hold your blade at the wrong angle, you'll tell. See, if I have green stuff right here, I didn't hold it at the right angle. Alright. And be very careful when you clean this blade. Do not cut yourself. Always pull away with the rag. Don't cut yourself. Alright. Now we have the blade stropped, so here's the final thing. You saw it cut pretty well earlier. It'll probably cut a little bit better now. And of course the wind's blowing. But, I mean, you get the point. This thing is just slicing through paper. Anyway, that's how you sharpen a blade. Hope you liked it. Sorry the wind's blowing, so it looks kind of goofy. Some of the papers didn't cut. But, yeah. You get the point. That's how you sharpen a knife.